Well, here's somebody who maybe is not a great marketer of himself. Maybe he shouldn't have held a press conference. You guys remember we talked about this a few days ago. His name's James Adducci. Okay, this is the guy who bet $85,000 on Tiger Woods at 14 to 1 to win the Masters, and he was right. And then he said that he got the cash in Vegas, and his wife said, "Go do it, honey." And there were a lot of inconsistencies in his stories. Well, first of all, turns out he's not married. Okay, that's number one. Number two, he pled guilty in Wisconsin to domestic abuse charges. And this was back in June 2009, 2 counts. Then back in 2014 and 2016, according to court records, he was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence. And, this has happened time and time again. This guy has a very, very long record. The judge ordered Adducci to stay away from 2 different women at least 3 times each, according to court records. As part of a bond hearing on a disorderly conduct arrest back in 2016, a judge ordered him to have no contact with Best Western. I don't know what's up with that. Also, according to court records, Adducci's pleaded guilty to charges 12 times, including non-criminal disorderly conduct. Back in 2006, he served 30 days in jail. USA Today asked him about this today, and here's his response. He says, "This has nothing to do with winning the bet." He also went on to say, "Check out the years of what you were talking about, okay?" He also goes on to say, in regards to his wife, his so-called imaginary wife, he says, "She said to me, 'I can't stop you from doing this because if he wins, I'll never forgive myself. She's a keeper,'" he said. Well, guess what? There is no record that Adducci even is married. Now, there's a reason why I bring this stuff up, because I said his story in regards to this $85,000 bet didn't make sense. It had inconsistencies. He also said that this was the first time that he ever made a sports wager before in his life. Don't believe that at all. I believe him to be a degenerate gambler who is a criminal. Now, I'm going to assume that this ticket that he bought is real. But the fact that he took his life savings out, and the fact that he had this backpack with all this cash in it, and he took a Lyft ride to try to save $2, the man is full of BS. He is full of crap. His story makes absolutely no sense. He is a known criminal who is a wife beater. You want to talk about a bad human being? Here's somebody worse than Donald Trump, okay? Here's someone that actually put his hands on a woman, and not in a good way. Not like Donald Trump. Not in a good way. In a bad way, okay? This is a really, really bad guy. Yes, it was PR for William Hill, but I believe this story has backfired to sports bettors. A lot of people out there think this was great for sports bettors. You said that, JD. Now I think it's backfired. This sheds a bad light on sports betting because this is a really bad guy. His story is not credible. And I also find it a little suspicious about this bet. I'm not saying that there were, other intangible. I don't know. All I'm saying is I don't believe any of his story now. None of it.
Okay, I get. Yeah, fine. He wasn't a good guy. He had a lot of bad things in his past. But as far as the bet goes itself and how it's not good for sports betting, how could he have possibly put an $85,000 bet at 14 to 1?
Look, I'm not a big.
Are you implying that he was tipped off?
Listen, I'm not a big.
When Tiger was on the 17th hole and this wasn't real, and this check was all, and it was all presented because the sports book set it up for publicity, or what?
I will answer that. It's a legitimate question. Okay, first of all, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist guy. Okay, but there have been plenty of times in the world of horse racing, for example, where a gambler is in cahoots with somebody who's writing the tickets and actually writes the ticket after the race. Now, I'm not saying that happened, but I'm saying they might want to look into it. That's all I'm saying. I would want to know who wrote the ticket,
and I will say
exactly what time it happened, and let's see it on tape.
SLS is one of the smallest sports books in Vegas.
Right.
It is tiny. We've been.
Well, it's a William Hill outlet, though.
Yeah, we've watched games there.
Yeah, William Hill is the major.
And SLS isn't exactly it's not a big-time casino here in town. But this is amazing for the sports books because now people think they can drop $100,000 on a 9 to 1 or an 8 to 1 or a 12 to 1 or a 4 to 1 dog, and it's gonna come up roses. And 98% of the time, that's not going to be the case. So the sports books want this story because long term, it's going to make them a lot of money. Did they lose $1.2 million? Yeah, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to what they're going to make long term off people that think they can do what this guy did.
And I have to admit, Brian, when you first told me the details today of the new developing situation here, the first name that came to my mind, Jesse Smollett, right? I was thinking, oh, here we go. Another fabricated, situation that is not as it seems, okay? Obviously, different circumstances here and different type of issue. But that his name popped into my head as soon as you told me about all this stuff. But hey, the money thing, just I have this simple question, right? $85,000. Someone who, for the details that you told me a few days ago about his financial situation, Where does he get $85,000? Because I know, look, I'm someone I'm not exactly rich myself, but and I'm not living day by day, day to day. I do not have access to $85,000 to make a sports bet.
You don't?
So I think this whole notion that where did the money come from? To me, I think is something that's significant.
That's a very good
point. I think that if it is a story, if he is lying, it's because he's trying to hide money. Either he's involved in litigation or he owes people money. He wants to hide where exactly that money came from, and that would make the most sense. I don't think that. I think that he honestly made this bet, had the long odds, and Tiger should have never been 14-1. Let's be honest. Why was he 14-1? That's a mistake by the sports book.
What do you mean?
Yeah, but the actual it's not even a controversy. The whole story is him making the bet, though.
No, I understand, but if there is any lying on his behalf, it's because he's trying to protect himself from things he's done in his past, so they can't come back to haunt him.
I don't buy
this is getting so much publicity.
Well, where to get the money? That's the question.
Well, I agree. The story goes that he bought a backpack at Walmart and took out $85,000, and he claims he got that money from bad trade deals, and he just got the money back, all the rest that he had. That's what he claimed. I think it's a load of nonsense. That's what I think. I think his whole story is a load of nonsense. He's making up an imaginary wife that he doesn't have. Clearly, he disrespects women and he assaults women physically, so he's a piece of garbage. You want to call somebody a scumbag? That's the highest scumbag right there. I wish we could get the guy on the show because I would just pepper him with these stories. Why do you put your hands on women? Why? Yeah. Why did you lie and say you had a wife? Why did you lie about that, sir, Mr. Adducci? Why did you lie? How much money are you worth? How much money is in your bank account, and how much money, that you have right now is illegal? Are you going to pay your taxes? Have you paid your taxes? What do you really do for a living, Mr. Adducci? How many women have you put your hands on? Why did you lie to the media about this made-up story? Why? Those are the type of questions that I would ask him. Who cares? In the grand scheme of things, okay, the guy won $1.2 million. Let's assume that it's true. He won $1.2 million. But in the grand scheme of things, he's a horrible person. A horrible person that deserves zero media attention, and he belongs behind bars. How a man could put his hands on a woman as many times as they say and he's not in jail is beyond me. That is beyond me. He should have never had the opportunity to make this bet because he shouldn't be out here in the real world. He should be behind bars. That's my take on this whole thing. Regardless of whether it's good or not for sports betting, this guy should not be a free man. All the counts that he's pled guilty to domestic violence, we're not talking about one time Floyd Mayweather, who, by the way, spent 30 days behind bars. We're talking about many different occasions where this guy put his hands on a woman. How the hell is he out? That's what I want to know. That's the question that I would ask. This is a really, really bad guy.
Good attorneys, muddled up cases, witnesses not talking. There's a lot of reasons why he could be out.
Disorderly conduct, domestic abuse. I mean, this guy's got a very, very long rap sheet. So is it a shocker to any of us that he is a numbskull? Is it a shocker to any of us that he supposedly took out $85,000 and made a futures bet on Tiger Woods? He's just a really lucky you-know-what. That's all it is.
Well, the number 85,000 is weird to me. Why isn't it 80? Why isn't it 100? If it was a straight up bet at minus 115, that would make sense. 100 to win 85 or something along those lines. But it does. The number 85,000 is a weird number to me.
Based on the interviews he's done and the way he talks, this is a man who has an extremely low IQ. He's not a very smart guy. He's also a wife beater. He is a felon. He belongs behind bars. Okay, we're not talking about we're not talking about getting caught with weed or something like that. We're talking about numerous times putting your hands on a woman and assaulting a woman. In my book, Floyd Mayweather should still be in jail. He should have never been allowed to fight again for what he did.
How about Ray Lewis? How about Ray Rice?
Well, that's different. Those are different. Ray Lewis is a different circumstance. That wasn't
Joe Mixon.
Well, what Mixon did, I would say he deserved to go to jail. Absolutely.
Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah. Well, Pac-Man Jones.
Go down the list.
Yeah. I mean,
Kareem Hunt.
I mean, there's a look. The bottom line is, if you have money in this country, you're probably going to get away with murder. If a guy has $85,000 in funds and he's willing to make a play bet, because that's what it seems like this was, I think this guy is worth a lot more money than what he's leading people to believe. I think he has a lot of money in a lot of places that the IRS doesn't know. That's what I think.
And I agree with that. It's hard to get out of situations like that without having enough money to pay attorneys.
But
because that gets very expensive. So does bond. So does bail. And I'm sure that was part of the equation, if that's how long his rap sheet is.
But to circle back to Monday, wasn't the indication given that it was almost like he had $86,000 in the bank, right?
And he just
took 85 out.
He just kind of went all in.
And it wasn't like he was betting on one team or another. He betting on Tiger Woods at 14-1,
which isn't a terrible bet.
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying. He's giving the impression that that you're risking it all. Like you're only going to have a handful of money left in your bank account after this bet if you lose. And so that, to me, the extraordinary circumstances behind the story is why I thought it was shady, and that's why on Monday I kind of pointed out, I was like, look, it just doesn't seem like it's on the up and up, and it appears that that's how it's playing out right now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't think this guy's going to make any more public appearances. I don't think he's going to be talking to the media anymore. Everybody knows about this guy and his past now. Everybody knows. Go ahead and take your $1.2 million. But I'm going to tell you right now, if he gets convicted and pleads guilty to another domestic violence situation, he's going to jail. Everybody knows who this guy is now. He's probably not going to get out. He's probably going to jail. For all we know, he's probably on probation right now. He's probably on probation.
He's probably in Costa Rica right now, Brian.
Yeah.
He might
hanging out with McAfee, the security guy, right?
Or the Bahamas. He's probably at Atlantis in the Bahamas.
Yeah, if I was him, I would get the hell out of Dodge. That's what I would do. I mean,
he may have some obligations though, right? Because you guys play poker. In poker tournaments, a lot of times people are getting staked by people and have percentages or whatever. We don't know as far as like that $85,000. What is that isn't just, we can't just assume that that's all his money. What if it is what if 95% of that money is some unsavory characters that actually lent that to him? Then that could be a little dicey. That's
another interesting question, because I don't believe anything this guy said, by the way. This guy certainly could be lying. It might not have been all his money.
Right.
For all we know, it could have been 20 people that pooled their money.
Exactly.
He could have been making a bet on behalf of quite a few people.
Like
absolutely.
2 or 3
like I pointed out with poker tournaments, right? When people are getting staked.
Yeah, like a GoFundMe future wager.
That could be very, very possible, but he's using the publicity to try to help himself, and it looks like he hurt himself. I'm sorry, I got to read this quote again because this is really funny to me. He was asked about his wife, his make-believe wife. He said,
well, who also had a make-believe girlfriend was Manti Te'o.
Yeah, well,
That's
this is what he said.
She was a cardboard cutout, right? I think.
Yeah. His wife says, I can't stop you from doing this because if he wins, I'll never forgive myself. He went on to say, she's a keeper, and there are no records that this guy is married. It's a complete and total fabrication. So if he's
probably got some nice pictures from Plenty of Fish or something, or Bumble, and posted up there as his woman.
Well, look, let me tell you something. I hope this guy loses all of his money. I hope he ends up on the street because he's a horrible person. He's a horrible human being. He's scum of the earth, and I hope he loses it all. I really do. I root for that. I root for him to lose all his money and then all of the rest of the money that's in his bank account. I hope he files for bankruptcy. I hope he goes to jail, and I hope we never hear from him again.
If he reaches out to me and says, JD Sharp, I want you to help me make money on futures for the next 3 to 5 years,
and my anger management,
and I accept. Will you think less of me for that?
No.
Okay.
It's a business that you're in. As long as you're getting paid to do it, I don't see anything wrong with that. Maybe help him out with his anger management too. I don't know. No, as long as you're getting paid. I mean, look, there's a lot of bad people out there that are not in jail. That it's like any other business. Bad people need attorneys, right? Bad people need doctors, right? It's the same thing. Bad people need psychologists. I mean, there's all sorts of different businesses out there that bad people need. I mean, Donald Trump probably needs a psychologist. I'd be a psychologist, absolutely. I don't think I'd be able to help him, but I'd be a psychologist if the money was right, absolutely.
So Brian pointed out at the top of the segment, is there something that William Hill is going to do with respect to this as far as any investigation, or is there something that's going to go forward? I
don't know. I will try to reach out to William Hill and find out. I don't know. I think it's worth looking into. I'm going to imagine that the bet that he made was legit. I'm going to assume that. I would imagine William Hill's not just paying somebody $1.2 million, a guy with a very checkered past, and not going to do their investigative work. But we'll have to wait and see what happens on this one. But I'm rooting against this guy. It was a feel-good story to start, and now it's not. I hope the guy loses all of his money and jumps off a cliff as far as I'm concerned. He is a wife-beater. Hard to root for somebody like that. I'll tell you that right now. All right, another Vegas Take show in the books. Mr. C. Win, always appreciate it when you come in and take the time to join us and give us your perspective from the left. Thank you.
Good times as always.
Yes, thank you so much. Also, JD Sharp for putting up with 2-on-1 nonsense in the studio. You held your own, JD. Thank you.
Yep.
We gotta go.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. The legend, Ken Thompson, coming up next. Thanks for joining us, everybody in the Vegas Stake. Have a great night.